Hi, my name is Simpiwe Petros. I'm a UP alumni, and when I was here, I studied industrial and systems engineering. What a journey it was. I learned so much about myself on this journey. I'm glad to say that I can come back and just share some of the things that I've learned on my journey. Welcome back to another video on responsibility. I'm glad that you're joining us on this journey to becoming a more responsible human being. It's very important to us. Remember, I'm here to give you tools to become more responsible. But you need to take responsibility and practically apply everything that you learn in this video. In the last video, we discussed the definition of responsibility and gave it to you in a leadership context. We also discussed the fact that it's important to start small and understand how you can practically implement responsibility and taking responsibility in your day-to-day life. Today we're going to discuss a couple of scenarios. Now these are scenarios that I'm pretty sure that you all can relate to. And the goal of these scenarios is to make sure that you can understand how to practically implement responsibility in your life. Now some advice before we go through these scenarios. Try put yourself in the shoes of this person that we're talking about. It's important. Because when I ask you questions on the scenario, it'll be a lot easier for you to answer them. Now these are interesting scenarios because I'm sure that you can think of yourself in these scenarios, but I'm pretty sure you know somebody that's gone through what we're going to discuss. Alright, let's get started. Our first scenario kicks off with Bruno. Now Bruno's in grade 9 and he's expected to take his little sister, who's in grade 8, home every day. All he needs to do after school is wait for his little sister outside the front gate of school and walk her home. It's not a long walk. It's actually quite easy for Bruno to do what he needs to do. But knowing Bruno, he's got a lot of friends and his friends tend to influence him a lot. Now he's got a really close friend by the name of James. And James asked Bruno to chill with him after school. Now instead of Bruno taking his sister home immediately after school, Bruno decided that he's gonna hang out for a few minutes with James. Before he knew it, an hour had passed and Bruno's sister had to walk home alone. Now from this story, there's a couple of questions that I have for you. First of all, what was Bruno's responsibility? Secondly, was Bruno responsible? Thirdly, now I'm sure you're all thinking about this, what are some of the consequences of Bruno's actions? And lastly, and I think this is very important, what could Bruno have done differently? So our second story kicks off with Thomas. Now Thomas loves football. His passion for football led him to joining the school soccer team. And at the school soccer team, they have practice every Wednesday after school. After a few weeks, Thomas felt like what they're doing at soccer practice isn't living up to his expectations. It's actually quite boring. It was focused on basics. So Thomas decided that he would much rather just go play soccer with his friend Mark at home after school. After a few weeks had gone by, the school soccer coach, who was actually Thomas's teacher, Mr. Brown, informed Thomas that the team would be playing a soccer match that Saturday. Thomas got excited because this is what he's always wanted to do. So he told Mr. Brown that he'd love to play for the school team. Mr. Brown allowed it to happen and let Thomas play on the Saturday morning. Thomas is a defender. He hadn't been to practice for a few weeks. His fitness was lacking, so he really struggled in the match. There came an important moment in the match where he needed to make a goal-saving tackle. He missed that tackle. His team lost. Sad story, right? Now from the story, I've got a couple of questions for you. What was Thomas's responsibility? Secondly, was he being responsible? Thirdly, and most important, what are the consequences of his actions? And lastly, which is forward thinking, what could he have done rather? Our third story involves Nicola and Steve. Now it's very important that you understand that Nicola really likes Steve in our story. So it's Monday morning and French class is about to start, and Nicola writes Steve a note. Steve reads the note, he likes it, and responds to Nicola's note with another note to Nicola. Now Nicola is really happy that she's received the note from Steve. And as she's writing a second note to Steve, the teacher starts class with a game on the board. Now Steve's really focused because he really likes French and he wants to do really well. So as he receives the second note from Nicola, he ignores it because he's focused on the game and what's happening in class. And because of this, Nicola really gets irritated at Steve. So what Nicola decides to do is that she's still going to get Steve's attention in class. So she writes him a third note just to make him laugh. Steve gets the third note, ignored the second note, remember? He reads the third one and he starts laughing loud in class. The teacher gets so irritated at Steve that she tells Steve to leave the class. Now my questions for you for this story are quite simple. First of all, whose fault was it? Secondly, what was Steve's responsibility? Thirdly, what was Nicola's responsibility? And lastly, what are some possible other consequences of Nicola's actions? Now all the stories I've told you were designed to give you a practical perspective on where you can practically implement responsibility in your life. And I'm pretty sure that you can relate to a lot of them, right? Now it's important to realize how you answered those questions. Now all these stories were designed to give you a practical perspective on how you can implement responsibility in your life. And I'm pretty sure that you can relate to some of them. Please take some time and learn from them. Now I asked you some questions and it's important to realize how you answered those questions and learn from these stories. And it's all about taking intentional steps of consistency to make sure that you are consistently moving forward. Trust me, you can do this. You've just got to make up your mind. And the moment you make up your mind, that's when the magic will happen. Thank you for joining me. My name is Simpiwe Petros. I'll see you in the debrief video.